Good evening and welcome as we join you once again on Date with Danu right here on Daily Mirror. It's our quarantine special. The lockdown still continues. There is curfew in Colombo and Gampha, so do follow the regulations that have been given so that you and I and everyone can be safe during these times. Keeping that in mind, big thank you to all those who make this show possible, our friends from Quantum, not forgetting our friends who have joined us from British Cosmetics, Vikramarachi Opticians, and also Jonathan Studios and Movenpick Hotel. Man in checks, didn't forget about you there. Today on the show, I'm going to speak a little bit about local businesses that are going to be affected because of this time period that we have spent at home, and how can we overcome it. And we have some very successful local businesses that have been recognized globally, that has brought in so much of name and fame to us, and this is what we're going to talk about and find an expert opinion on what we can do. And especially if you're someone who is an entrepreneur, you have your dreams of running your own store, business, creating your own brand. Well, you need to be a part of this. We'll tell you more about it, of course, as we move on with the show. It's 6:04 for those who tune in. I felt like doing radio there, just giving the time just a little bit. Would like to also let you know, follow the latest news and everything that you need to be informed about with Daily Mirror. You can always stay connected with everything that you need by just logging on to our Facebook or our website with all the latest news. And of course, our Instagram page too. Right now, I need to find what happened to my guest. Everyone can hear me loud and clear? That's a question that I need to ask, because someone has just asked me that's no sound. Let's see where my guest is for the day. No, I'm unable to find my guest. Right, thank you for saying that. Thank you for giving me that answer. Right, now let's just wait till I find my guest who is to come on the show. But how is your quarantine session going? Like, are you guys looking into, have you been taking public transport? How is the protocol for it? You have to always update and keep us informed that we can pass the news as well. Wherever you are, you could always write to us. And right now, we have our guest for today. Our guest is someone who has been a face for a local brand for some time. He has created a great brand that has globally brought in a lot of fame and success to Sri Lanka, Salon. It's a brand that you and I are both familiar with. And with us, we have Shalin Balasuriya. Hi, Shalin.
Hi, how are you, Danu?
Very good. I just saw your wife joining in as well.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So thank you so very much for joining us today. So to start things off, quarantine did push a lot of things back locally for us and globally for a lot of people. But local brands take a bigger hit because this is the second wave in terms of getting a hit. Last April, then once again this April. How would you explain to those who are watching, what should a local business do at a time like this?
Well, any business, of course, first move is, if I'm talking very, very generally, first move is that we need to figure out where our cash flows are at and really, really pay attention to that, because in the short term, business is, well, it's gone from non-existent to now we're going to have a patch of very little business, and then it's going to start growing slowly. So it's about surviving this time really for any business with your local international, as long wherever you're playing right now. It's about surviving this time of maybe initially, look, we don't know much, but we are hopeful that that initial period where things are going to get very, very tough is going to be about 3 to 4 months. And after that, things are going to start opening up a little more. So at this point, what you should be focusing on as a business is, number one, your cash flows, ensuring that you get through that patch. And getting through that patch means you have to focus on efficiencies, look at where your excess spends are, negotiate everything, whether it's loans with banks, whether it's rentals, all that. Talk to your employees, look at some level of salary cuts so that you keep them going as well, but you keep the business going, because if the business doesn't keep going, in the long term, the employees are going to lose out as well. So employees need to understand that as well. It's better to have a job these days and get something than refusing to
Have
take a
no job
big
at all.
pay cut or something and have no job at all. So we need to support each other. Businesses need to support each other. Employees need to support businesses. That's something we need to do. And also, as businesses, as brands, we need to start now looking at where our consumer is. What is our consumer's lifestyle now? And then saying, okay, how does our product or service cater to that now? And the state our consumer is in is changing all the time. Now, previously, when you had a target market, your target market was there. You knew where they went, how they ate, how they dressed, what are the events they went for, and therefore you targeted accordingly. You knew what share of wallet they had and so on.
Yeah.
But now that's changing. On a weekly basis, you don't know the state of your target market. Are they going to be stuck at home? Are they going to be out at work? What is their disposable income going to be? Everything is changing. So everything you plan has to be dynamic. As a business, you have to be ready to change and evolve way faster than ever before. So those are some key things right now.
Now, when the hit was for Sri Lanka on a big level last year, the leisure sector suffered the most, and everyone put things like, when it comes to a spa and all of this as second priority over the fact that people want to just pick up and move on. But when you don't fall under essential services, how hard is it going to be when you sort of lift your head above this?
Well, it's like this. Again, you have, as a brand, I'll just speak in general rather than getting too specific on what we do itself, but it depends on how you relate what you do to your consumer. So it's from our terms, it's well-being, right? So people need well-being, even if you're a restaurant or even if you're let's say you're an amusement park for that matter. Of course, there are issues with people gathering, but people are going to need that amount of joy. They're going to need that ability to go out from time to time or have a nice meal from time to time. And even if disposable income depletes quite a bit, there is still going to be that need for that amount of personal satisfaction, like cosmetic brands or other pampering brands give people. I mean, our side of things, we are a wellness brand, so there are a lot of things we can do for people right now, which will actually help them on a day-to-day basis with their sleep, with their stress, also with use of all these sanitizer and stuff, how to look after their hands and so on and so forth. So you have to look at whatever your brand is, you have to look at how does it affect people now. I mean, look at what you're doing now, right? Like Danu the brand or Daily Mirror the brand. Now you've taken all your programs onto this platform because now you're engaging with people in a different way. So it's a lot about, in the short term especially, looking at efficiencies and adjusting to your customers' state.
All right. I'm going to take a small break and come back with you and join because your video is being pixelated, so I would like a better quality. So we will rejoin in exactly 2 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Back with us on our second leg of this conversation. In conversation with Shalin, Balasuriya, a little bit about local businesses and what's their growth plan, especially when you come out of this. Thank you for joining us. It's our Date with Danu quarantine special that we have joined you on. Let me just connect with Shalin here so that we could have a conversation. So one of the things I wanted to speak about was the whole factor of how local business can sort of cope up with. But let's speak a little about Shalin, one of the biggest questions that a lot of people have sent in, even prior to different business personalities who we featured on such shows, about pay cuts. Like what people wanted to know is the fact that, okay, pay cuts in 2 to 3 months from the day that this pandemic started would have been understandable. But a quick decision to go into a pay cut was a bit of a confusion for them. What would you say has been the reason behind it? Or is it a very wise move that local sectors are doing?
See, it is a wise move, Danu, because in the long term, if you don't save the businesses, there's not going to be employment, right? So it's like I was telling you earlier, it's the employees also need to understand that if we can create our efficiencies, which include a certain amount of pay cuts where we ensure that the employees are still able to meet their needs, but we manage this in the short term so that the business lives another day, so that in the long term we all survive, pay cuts are necessary, because I'll explain why. Because we went from revenue to zero revenue, and businesses everywhere went from having revenue to zero revenue. So it wasn't a situation like the bomb where you had a few days off and then but business was running and so on and so forth. You went from something to zero. And when a business these days goes from zero for a day, for a week, for 2 weeks, straight away business start feeling the impact, because there are certain overheads that don't go away. You're leveraged with banks and so on. So different businesses are in different states. But again, businesses that have a huge amount of employees need to save the business in order for the long term to save the employees' livelihoods in the long term. So even employees need to understand you're better off having a job right now, even with a pay cut, because it helps your organization survive. And if your organization survives, when we do finally come out of this, whether it's 3 months down the line or 6 months down the line, you have the means to survive it, and then you start going back to normal. So it's I'm very much for the businesses that had to do this. There are some businesses that have said they're not going to do it. I mean, I wish them well. It's fantastic if they can do it. But realistically, most businesses, if you go to zero revenue, it's very hard to keep on paying employees.
Yeah. In the recent past, I saw a lot of posts coming up from Salon as a brand supporting the frontline workers. It could be recently you all celebrated International Nurse Day, and also you all had a lot of packs sent off to. How was that process, and especially at a time like this, how has that worked for you all?
See, Danu, I think being a local brand, especially, we felt the need to give back to our communities, and some people that need to be appreciated right now are the forces, are the nurses and doctors on the front line. And what we can do with our products is, put a smile on their face, make them feel nice, something to pamper them, something wellness related, something beyond your ordinary. So that's what we wanted to give them. These guys are working crazy hours. They're putting themselves at risk. Their families are worried for them, wearing those masks all day and those layers and layers of suits. And if we can put a smile on their face at the end of the day, and that's something we really wanted to do. And we approached the health services and said we'd like to do it for the nurses, and they were quite obliging in terms of accommodating us to get the product out there. Even before, when our factory was closed, the first thing we did when we opened the factory is dedicate all our resources to making sanitizer, because at that point there was a shortage of sanitizer even for the people in the front lines. So we made all the sanitizer we made initially was donated to them, because we do believe as a local brand we have to give priority to our people and our country. And that's what we did, and that's what we will continue to do in whatever way possible.
Excellent. Now we have been talking about about this whole quarantine time and the fact that it has created so many problems for people. It could be in terms of abuse at home, it could be depression, it could be the fact of trying to maintain sanity, balancing kids, sometimes kids, husband, wife, all at home. It has been a bit of a process. What would you tell for those people, and especially these days, not only that we come across news about quarantine, we're also coming across news about being abused during this time?
So what would I tell the people being abused, or what's the question?
What would you say to this situation?
Look, abuse is a very sad state. Whatever time it comes in, right? And the people who continue to live with these abusive people really need to be given help so that they can get out of these abusive relationships and get out of these abusive states, whether it's in a house or wherever it is. And there are lots of organizations, thankfully, in Sri Lanka, putting this message out there and giving the resources for people to do so. So abuse in general it's a horrible situation. Then here in a situation where people are getting frustrated, not being able to control their emotions, there are things like that happening as well. So even in situations like that, well, the first thing we need to the message we need to get out there is, look, the way you control the way you handle yourself, around your family and your friends is very, very important. You have responsibility to keep them healthy and happy. You cannot abuse someone. That is wrong. A man has no right to abuse his wife or children, or vice versa. That's a message we need to spread. Above and beyond that, we also need to get the message out there that if someone is being abused, that there is someone willing to listen to their complaint. Because a big part of it is that, oh, who can I complain to? Who can I tell? Kaata kiyanada, right? So we need to fix that and say, no, abuse is wrong. And if you are being abused, there are people out there who will help you. And thank God for all the organizations out there spreading the word and spreading the news. I saw you getting some information about that as well. We need to all continue to do that. And the solution is in there.
Something that I wanted to speak to you about is the fact that everyone sees Salon as such a great brand. There's been such a great example to what Sri Lanka can achieve. In the recent past years, we have seen Salon grow, and not only locally but also internationally. Y'all have opened up to 60 outlets worldwide.
We were just about to open 99, 100, 101, 102, 103.
I'm 40. I'm 40 low. I'm 40
yes,
behind this whole thing.
Samantha and I were just about to travel to Europe for the openings when all this went down. So it's on hold for the moment. So we are on the brink of 100.
What would you say, like, if you take Salon as a brand, apart from the product being amazing and very local, what do you think that is so catchy that makes people come towards Salon? Is it the name Salon in it, or is it the fact that it has this Ayurvedic touch to it, or is it the branding and the whole look and feel of it?
See, first and foremost, Danu, if you can do the branding, marketing, all that. If you don't make great products, people are not going to come back and keep coming. Yeah. So first and foremost, we make great products and we deliver what we promise. Secondly, people have fallen in love with the whole story of Salon. And the story of Salon is a story of our island home, really. Our culture, our ingredients, our science, the warmth of our people, the beauty of the island we live in, and the abundance. And it's not just a story, it's not just a fairy tale, it's an authentic story. Yeah. So being authentic is far more important than it ever was right now, because everyone's got a phone in their hand. So no matter what you say, they can check. When they see the ingredients and they see the exotic ingredients, they can type it up and check what is this ingredient.
Yeah.
When we talk about Ayurveda, we're talking about an authentic science that has 5,000 years of heritage. When we talk about the kind of art we have, it comes from our island. So we see a lot of Sri Lankans taking a lot of pride in it. We see Sri Lankans traveling across the world, and they'll see a Salon store, take a picture next to it, and send it to us and say, "Oh, so proud to see this there." So creating that connection with our customer, whether they're Sri Lankan or overseas, is obviously one, making great product and products that do what we say they do, and having an authentic story that delivers. So those two things we really focus on. And we are blessed to be from this country, because if not for this country we live in, there would be no Salon. And it's those elements that come from where we live that has made it such an amazing brand.
Out of all the countries that I've visited and seen this work, where has been the biggest feedback? Is it the Asian sector, the European sector?
Well, if you're looking at Asia, because we were predominantly in Asia for most of this 10 years, and we've just started going into Europe. So in Asia, the biggest response we've had is in Japan. It's been a huge response to the brand, but we've just started going into Europe, or properly going into Europe, or getting more widespread in Europe in the last year or so. And wow, the reception in Europe has been fantastic. Crazy enough, the further we get from Sri Lanka, the further we get from our homeland, people are appreciating it even more and more, because we are far more exotic. Ayurveda is loved and becoming something people want to discover, and this whole wellness ecosystem that's been built around the world is really supporting what the brand stands for as well. So there's something very satisfying about taking Salon and putting it in another country, or taking it into another country and see people embracing it, because it's so much of us. And I think that's why people take pride in it as well, because you as a Sri Lankan can go out and say, oh, that's, that art comes from my country, those
Yeah.
ingredients are from here, we used to eat this.
Mm.
All that just ties in beautifully, but we are seeing Europe is really, really embracing the brand.
Uh, you know, we always say that, we are so proud to be Sri Lankan. We are just we are so happy and the whole works. But when Salon launched in Sri Lanka, how was the welcome as it came to the market?
See, we were very well aware that there would be a problem when that would be one of our biggest hurdles, because here we were a Sri Lankan brand making higher end bath body cosmetics, and they were Ayurveda products. And at that time, Ayurveda products were just alternate medicine that the poor people use. That's
Yeah.
how people looked at it.
And also,
There's
it always
nothing
had the tel botale look.
Til Botale and Gandhai and all that. There's nothing exciting, sexy about Ayurveda. So the challenges were, firstly, we had to make Ayurveda exciting and sexy and beautiful and all that. And the other one was to make Sri Lankans say, I use a Sri Lankan cosmetic product and I'm proud of it. Rather than saying, oh, I get all my products from overseas, France and Singapore and all that. So we had the branding and the positioning really was based on changing those mindsets about Ayurveda and local products. So that was a very conscious decision when we planned how we presented the brand, and thankfully it worked, and it's going well.
Something, however much, there's always some kind of joy when you get a little happiness when you get a goodie bag, because you're like, oh my God, that's something for me. So it was one of those. I think every time you go and buy. Can you hear me?
Okay, I lost you for a minute. Now you go.
But you can hear me?
Okay, you're back now. Now you're back.
Okay, we will. Okay, we have. Okay, all right. So there's always this little joy when you buy yourself like a spa salon foot ritual or something. You get a little body cream with it, and it's always like this, like you have like this Kinder Joy feel to it. You're like, oh my God. So because you guys you all have this huge range of products from head to toe. You have been looked into. So when you do such products, how do you sort of see the progress? Because there's so many in the market.
See the progress. Are you asking me how we
how
come
you
up with the
keep track?
product?
Yeah, and also how you keep track, because there's something called the relaxing balm, then you have the calm balm, then you have the sleep balm. You're like, balm.
So tracking is very scientific, Danu. I mean, we've got very high-tech tracking systems that track what's selling, where it's selling, who's buying it, what nationality, where we are selling what. We even track what shelf sells more than the other shelf. So there's a lot of thought that goes on to actually tracking our purchases, and even how our customers walk around the store, how they interact with products. So we do spend a lot of time tracking that. We spend a lot of time watching customers, how they interact with it. And when it comes to designing products, we are very customer centric. So it's about really understanding what is the lifestyle of our customer and how do we make an impact on that. Because it's all about creating that impact. Like you said, getting that little feel-good feeling, or finishing your foot ritual and getting the acharu and the hakuru and the tea, or opening a shower gel and getting that whiff of essential oil that you get.
Yeah.
It's those moments of truth. It's those moments of joy that create impact. So it's about creating impact, and we spend a lot of time understanding those moments of truth that happen in consumers. It's like you open a door and step into a spa salon. You're in a complete different situation moment you step in, because the fragrance takes over, the music takes over, the lighting takes over, the vibrancy takes over.
AC takes over.
Exactly. So straight away, we've made impact, right?
Yeah.
It's a multi-sensory and multi-sensory impact that we make on the consumer. So that is what we focus on. How do we keep impacting our customer again and again and again? No matter what we do, whether it's going into clothing, whether it's going into another product, whether it's going into other avenues. So it's creating that impact, and to do that, you have to really understand your customer and what is your customer's lifestyle, and keep that focus. And then there's on the largest end, there's a heavy R&D that's running all the time. We've got Ayurveda doctors working on ingredients. We've got cosmetologists working on new ways of formulations. We've got other R&D teams looking at what's happening in the industry. So there are a multitude of factors that come in to make this happen. But at the end of it, it's all about creating impact in your customer's life.
Yeah. When this quarantine is done, I've asked this question from everyone. And when we are done with this whole social distancing, and what's the first thing that you want to do?
Well,
I know you wanted to cut your hair. I wanted to cut my hair. We achieved that.
That's done.
Yeah, maintaining social distancing. When everything is off.
Well, not the first thing I do, but I think something I would love to do is go to a beach.
Okay.
I miss the beach.
Right.
It'll be nice to go to a beach and be able to, with friends and family and just hang out. That's something, being outdoors like that is something I've missed.
Okay.
What's the first thing you're going to do?
Good question. I don't know. I just need a place to wear things and walk around.
First thing you're going to do is put pants on.
Exactly. Something that I wanted to speak about is you as a person. Not a lot of people will know. Shalin is a great cook, and also he has his first child is a dog. But you were never into animals so much, right? Well, you never knew that this pug will take over your life.
No, so the dog was, we had dogs growing up, but the pug was Susie's decision. And when the pug first came in the house, I said, okay, let him be outside. Then I'll say, okay, let him be in the hall. Let him come into the room. So every week things change, and then next thing you knew, he was on the bed, and he's been on the bed since.
That week onwards.
He's a huge part of our lives. He's absolutely a child, and there's no real difference between the child and the pug.
Yeah.
So he's been absolute joy. But I'm telling you, the effect a pet plays in your life, because because there's so much love for this dog, I see him in the eyes of any animal, really. So there's a lot of empathy you have for animals after you have a pet. Now we have a daughter who's just a little over 1 year old, and she's grown up with him. She loves animals. She loves animals. If she walks anywhere, sees an animal, she wants to go and hug it and kiss it and all that. She loves animals. So for parents watching, get pets for your kids. Treat them well, because
one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this conversation up with you is because during this quarantine period, we have seen all types of abuse, and something that I did speak to Mrs. Gandhi, who is actually an activist in India for these kind of issues, and she said something very powerful. She said one of the ways that somebody can fight depression is to have a pet at home. It's one of the key things, and especially during this whole lockdown series, one of the most spoken about topic has been about depression. People have been just really sulking in all of this. It's just a stew full of anxiety. So I think a right solution is it's a switch that you can actually on and see how great it is to have an animal as a companion.
Absolutely, and it's unconditional love, especially with dogs. It's unconditional love. I know cats are a little different, but but dogs is unconditional love. But I will say this: you're in quarantine, you have the time to give, but don't get a pet if you're not willing to commit the time to look after it.
Sure.
Because there's going to come a time, yes, it seems like a fun idea right now, but if you're going to suddenly wake up after all this and leave the dog alone all the time, or tied up or in a cage, don't do it.
Yeah. That's definitely true. Well, Shalin, it has been amazing talking to you. What would you say as any last few words that you would like to share?
I'll share my brother's watching somewhere. I'll share something he's been going on about almost on a day-to-day basis.
Uh,
One thing he's been saying is, look, the human race is a very smart race, and they've got over a lot of things, and they're going to get over this as well, which is absolutely true. We are going to get over this as a race. We are going to get over this as a country. So hang in there, support each other, support your friends, support your family, support the place you work for. This is the time, if you're talking from a business point of view, that you will have to get up there and do things, take on roles that you are not part of your job description. You might have to do different things to keep your company afloat. And remember, we are all working towards the same thing, is to come out of this. So play your part. Also, as businesses, as individuals, realize that the only way our economy is going to come out of this is not if one or two companies come out of it. Everyone needs to rise.
of course.
That's the only way the economy works. So
Yeah.
help everyone rise. Go out, and when this comes out, yes, help by buying things, help by not going after businesses just because they make a mistake. I'm not talking about the unethical things that are going. That's fine. Look, during this time, there are people. Some orders are getting delayed. You call a restaurant. They said it was available. Then it wasn't available. Please don't go off on rants, because people are running with small shifts. They're
Correct.
trying the best they can. They're running with really depleted incomes right now. Help them out. Support them. If you got something you like, go out and tell people about it. If you're using your social media, use it positively. See people going after people all the time on social media.
Yeah.
Just put that aside and go say positive things. Say, go buy this, go enjoy this.
True.
This is great. Stuff like that. Let's start supporting our businesses. Let's start supporting each other. Keep an eye out for your neighbors, your family, your friends, because some people are going to suffer. Their incomes are going to get affected. Help people out. And together as a country, we will come out of this, and stay positive.
All right. So he did speak about the whole downhill of economy. There's a question that has been sent to you. That's on his first clip, which is already up on our Instagram page. You can take a listen to it. He has spoken in length about it. Shalin, thank you so very much for joining us. A big thank you to everyone, to Shivanta, who is tuned in as well. And we will see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Have a good night, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. All right.
See you. Bye.
Bye. So that's Shalin speaking a little bit about what local businesses have to keep in mind when they sort of come out of the whole quarantine and the COVID-19 issue. Hopefully soon. That's what we're looking out for. Thank you so very much for joining me. We did take a bit of a serious note this time around on Date with Danu. On Saturday evening, today's Thursday, on Saturday evening, it's going to be a fun interview. You're going to have a ball with it, and you have to join us. It's going to be at 5 o'clock on Saturday, so make sure that you're free to tune in. If you are, it'll be lovely to see you there as well. So until I see you then, you have yourself a great day. Be safe and be aware of what's happening around you. Thank you so very much, and follow Daily Mirror for all the latest news.